Right, nearly Saturday morning, Ireland against the All Blacks. Andy Farrell has named this team a very experienced team. We're going to have reaction to that with Rory O'Connor and also our very own Stephen Kisby-Green between now and 9 o'clock. Massive hurling weekend, semi-finals Saturday and Sunday, and the hurling pod were out and about last night live in Limerick, and we're going to bring you some of the best bits on that over the course of the evening show. And after 8 o'clock, we're going to bring you the story of the American WNBA star Brittany Griner, who was arrested in Moscow just before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. She was arrested because of vape cartridges that were found in her luggage that they say contain traces of hashish oil, and she's going to be brought before a Russian court tomorrow on those drug charges, and it's expected that she will be convicted and could well be sentenced up to 10 years in isolation. So we're going to talk about that after 8 o'clock as well. 53106 is the text number. Add off the ball if you want to get in touch on social media. Richie McCormack, good evening.
Hey Nathan.
Joe Molloy, how are you?
Very well, gents. How you doing?
For anyone watching, I apologise. I'm very confused because usually we talk to this screen, but they seem to have moved me to this screen. So I'm not quite sure where I am. So I'm being told it's this one. Look straight ahead.
You think that's confusing, Nathan? My view of you is literally the back of the screen that you're kind of staring at the minute. So, you're just a disembodied voice as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
and
it's probably for the best. Probably for the best. Who do we blame for this shambolic start to the show?
I blame Mick, to be honest.
Mick, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I hear they've changed it now. Which one are you telling me to do? This is outrageous. They've just changed it in the middle of it. Molloy's like, come on, this is what TV's all about. You just got to get used to this. Follow the red light. Follow the red light, isn't that it?
Make them follow you. That's what I mean. When in doubt, they'll catch up eventually if you keep looking down a lens. That's my general tack. If you start moving, they start moving. You can get into a dance. You know, when you bump into someone in the street and you go left, they go left, and before you know it.
Last Thursday, Joe, you were in studio. We're going to be back together again soon, though. Monday, Richie, make sure to tune in, or make sure you're working. Right. Going to be coming live from the JP McManus Pro-Am. All the big guns out.
I'm still not sure what we're doing then there, by the way.
Shh. There's a well-organised plan.
Is this why I'm in on Tuesday?
Junket. No, Tuesday is the first Golf Weekly Classic of the year, Richie. Live from Killeen Castle. No. This is the people who've been so good to support us over the last 18 months, our chance to give back. Philanthropy, essentially, isn't it, Joe?
It is.
To
the listeners, when you're giving out about me presenting on Tuesday, just remember it's not my fault. It's because these two shiftless layabouts want to go down and knock a ball around a big field.
There is some early talk, Richie. There is some early talk of us helping you out in the 9 to 10 hour by gifting you the hour podcast of Golf Weekly, which we'll have at Killeen Castle afterwards. So
I like the sound of that.
As for Monday's show, genuinely, Nathan, I'm not sure what we're doing down there. With 3 hours to fill, we'll have had a New Zealand-Ireland game. We'll have had All-Ireland semi-finals. And again, I do fear the content is going to be me asking Harry Redknapp if he's enjoying his time in Ireland.
That can be good radio. That can be good radio right there. The celeb lineup is pretty impressive for the JP McManus Pro-Am. The whole, the aim obviously is we go down and we stalk Jordan Spieth and hope that eventually he will talk to us. Now, I think we all know which way this is going to go. So obviously I think you got 10 of the top 11 players in the world there. So that's obviously very interesting. Sir Kenny Dalglish is going to be there.
Yeah.
Matt Dawson. You like Matt Dawson, Joe?
Yeah.
Jamie Dornan.
Naturally, yeah, expected that.
Shane Filan.
Yeah.
Alan Hansen.
Oh, nice.
You'd like to spend a bit of time with Hansen, wouldn't you?
Well, Hansen really has disappeared, hasn't he? I mean, no sense of ego, or I might just do the odd interview here or there. He has properly disappeared.
Basically just a full-time golfer now, Alan Hansen.
Yeah.
Niall Horan, of course, is going to be there. Bill Murray will obviously be there.
Who?
Bill Murray.
Oh, Bill Murray. Yeah.
Bill's obviously been here for a few weeks.
For a second there, I don't know why the line half broke up. I thought you said James Nesbitt. He's a big fan of these things.
I'd be shocked if James Nesbitt doesn't rock up at some stage. I saw he was down at the Irish Open Pro-Am. Both Harry and Jamie Redknapp.
Okay.
So you get at Mark Wahlberg.
That's pretty cool.
Marky Mark
is going to be there as well.
He has an extraordinary golf facility. I don't know what the correct term is, in his back garden. I mean, like a proper full-on par 3. He must be a California way, because he's like there's kind of, it's mini canyon, it's hard rock, but he hits from a hill to a green in the distance over barren land, maybe 140, 150 kind of yard shot, but he's got 4 or 5 different greens you can aim at from this kind of driving range facility, and his gigantic houses to the left. It's quite something. So he is big into it. He's a lefty.
It sort of crept up on me, but now that I'm reading the list of players that are going to be there, I am more excited than ever, because as you go down through, you go, Bryson is going to be there. Like, firstly, this is seismic in the world of golf this week, because you have all the live golfers and all the PGA Tour golfers all coming together for the first time since there is a live event happening this weekend, as far as I'm aware, in Oregon. So they're all coming back together. So I'd imagine the entire golfing world is going to be congregating around Adara Manor. But you look and you go through, I'd love to spend some time watching Bryson. I'll spend some time watching Bryson on the range. It's always unbelievably impressive. Then, you know, it's like Patrick Cantley. Like, Patrick Cantley is top 10 in the world. Patrick Cantley's probably going to be going around with nobody really watching him. It's a good opportunity to get up close and watch one of the best in the world. You keep going through it and you see Ricky Fowler's going to be there. Dustin Johnson. Brooks is going to be there. Obviously, Shane Lowry and Porter Carrington, Leona Maguire are playing. Graham McDowell will be there, which could be interesting in many ways. I'm not sure if he'll be doing too many interviews, G-Mac, while he's there. Colin Morikawa, 2-time major champion.
I will be... I want to see him hit a ball, actually, in person, yeah. Well, keep going on the celebrities for a second. Do you have any others?
No more celebrities. No more celebrities.
Okay.
I don't know then if there's more celebrities coming, or whether it's just local celebrities or people who've won competitions or paid a lot of money to play in this.
There'll be a bunch of the rugby lads. I wouldn't bet against Robbie Keane or John O'Shea based on their shapes at Mount Juliet.
Rocking up. I'm surprised they're not on the list already. John Ram is going to be there. Your friend Xander Schauffele, world number 1 Scotty Scheffler.
It is
Cam Smith,
insane.
Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and then right at the end you go, and Tiger is going to be there.
I know. Dennis Walsh had a big piece in the Sunday Times at the weekend, almost just trying to get to the bottom of the question a lot of people have. What is it that JP McManus has when it comes to, say, Tiger in particular? And Dennis spoke to different people and pulled a few threads, and it seems to be just mutual. They've known each other a long time. JP McManus has a propensity for privacy, which is something Tiger respects, and so he's been coming over prepping for Opens for maybe 20 years and doing some fishing and different things, and because there was a suggestion of an appearance fee one of the years when he was over, and the Sunday Times piece said that the journalist who published that was personally called and told to retract that because that was not the case. So look, it's insane. All these golfers flocking to Adair. It's there's no other program like it in the world.
Text in, you know, the Irish Open is on right now, an actual competition. I think it just shows the power of the JP McManus Pro-Am.
But sadly as well, I mean, and it's, we'll move off golf before. Stay with us, Richie. Stay with us. It is quite something if you look at the Live Golf Tournament, which starts this evening, the Irish Open in Mount Juliet, and the John Deere Classic on the PGA Tour. The best field, if you're just a golf fan, parking, moral reservations and everything else, the best field is now the Live Golf Tournament this week.
Yeah, you know? It's certainly the strongest, and obviously the Irish Open, if you were to take out the Irish players playing there, there's not a huge amount else. You've got someone like Tyrrell Hatton is probably the highest ranked player away from Seamus Power and Shane Lowry. So yeah, Live Golf, it ain't going away, and they're all going to be there on Monday. There'll be some very interesting press conferences, I suspect, at Adair Manor over Monday and Tuesday. Already getting lots of messages of people wondering, you know, could we hop in your boot? Any chance of getting in there? It's been sold out for years. It's obviously been pushed back for a couple of years. So if you don't have a hat, what they do is, I think it's like 50 quid to get in, but you basically buy a hat and that's your entrance fee.
Oh wow. I was talking to someone today who's going down, and we were wondering, I don't know if you have a sense of this. So the event is sold out. Now there is sold out like the way Augusta sells out and everybody, you know, has a nice view and it's not like the crowds are 20 deep. And then there is sold out like a British Open where everyone get as many in as we can, and it can be quite hard to get close to the action. Have you a sense of Adair?
Well, I was there at the last JP Pro-Am, and my memory is that it was more relaxed than a regular golf tournament, that they don't squeeze every single person in. And again, I think there's so many big names that people will be spread around the course, and you'll have an opportunity, albeit it might be difficult to see Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy, but a Scotty Scheffler, the world number one, might well be walking down the fourth, and it might be only one or two deep. So I don't think it's a case of absolutely putting 100,000 people on a Dare Manor and I can't cope with it. I think it's going to be an enjoyable experience for anybody who's lucky enough to have a ticket.
Great, okay.
Fully justified in doing the show from down there on Monday, Joe.
But Harry, are you enjoying your time in Ireland?
As Kenny Dalglish walks past you and refuses the interview.
Yeah,
Richie's starting with the golf, Joe. Tell us all about the Irish Open. An appropriate leader for the weekend that's in it.
There absolutely is, yeah. In the week, the Irish rugby team begin their tour of New Zealand. The son of a former All Black heads the Irish Open field. Ryan Fox shot a bogey-free opening round of 64 at Mount Juliet today and leads on 8 under par. He holds a one-stroke lead over a group that includes the Frenchman Frédéric Lacroix. Christian Zanotti is also in there as well. Fabrizio Zanotti is also in there as well, as is the Spaniard Jorge Campillo. Marcel Schneider is also in that group now. He has just signed off on a round of 65. So all of them on 7 under par. And Seamus Power and Niall Carney had the Irish Challenge on 4 under. Padraig Harrington and John Murphy there in the clubhouse on 2 under par. And Shane Lowry finished up on 1 under par today.
So Seamus Power, I think the last time he came to an Irish Open, Joe, was ranked outside the top 300 in the world. Now he's the 36th coming into this week, and he's put himself in contention. And that's what makes a great Irish Open now, is having one of the Irish players in and around at the weekend. I think back to 3-4 years ago, where obviously all the billboards outside were of McIlroy, McDowell, Lowry, Harrington, Clark, and all of them missed the cut. Thankfully then Seamus Power is there and looks as though he's going to put himself in a bit of contention.
Yeah, it really changes the atmosphere, and this is what Power does now. He's so consistent on the PGA Tour all the time. Conditions today were very favourable. The wind wasn't up and there'd been a lot of rain, so greens were soft. So you get no wind and you get soft greens, and you know how good these guys are.
So you got a bit of audio from it, Richie? No,
not from Mount Juliet.
I apologise. No. You do have the Irish team though to play the All Blacks.
That I do. Keith Earls, the only survivor from the side that started against the Maori All Blacks in the team named for Saturday's first test. He switches wings in a back three that also contains Hugo Keenan and James Lowe. Earls is the only non-Leinster player among the backs, with Gary Ringrose partnering Robbie Henshaw in midfield and Jemison Gibson Park and Jonathan Sexton in the three quarters. There's a front row of Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan and Tyg Furlong. Behind them, it's Tyg Byrne and James Ryan, and a back row of Peter O'Mahony, Josh van der Flaer and Caelan Doris. Meanwhile, Cian Healy fit enough for a place on the bench despite being taken off in that Maori All Black defeat. Ireland have never beaten New Zealand, of course, in their own backyard, and the historic nature of a potential victory on Saturday is not lost on Andy Farrell.
Of course, everyone's aware about it, and of course we've talked about it and what it would mean to us, etc. But that's not going to make it happen, is it? It's always about the nailing your detail and having a full understanding, full ownership of what that detail's all about, and putting it all together and mixing that with the right emotions, etc. And then hopefully you put all the package together, and the opposition have a bit of an off day at the same time, because all best laid plans for them and for us. You've got to be adaptable and go with the change, because that's international rugby.
There's always a lot of talk of experimentation ahead of summer tours, Joe, particularly as what Andy Farrell himself has said at the start of a World Cup cycle. This is a very experienced team he's put out there, which I guess is understandable considering what happened on Wednesday, but also it's the first test. There's going to be a natural experimentation as Test 2 and Test 3 come through injuries, and just you want to get off to the best possible start.
Yeah, and the first test is generally talked about as the best chance to win on these tours, Eden Park factor notwithstanding. As Richie said, I mean, the headline news and the miracle news is that Cian Healy is somehow fit, because that did not look good on Wednesday at all. So that saves a whole bunch of reconfiguration of that front row supporting cast, which would have just made the game look near impossible for Ireland to win, I think. So that's a massive fill-up. And then, it's a decent bench in Treadwell. Jack Onan is the other, I suppose, omission from the back row that had started to take shape of late. His form has not been his best post-lines, but he's certainly a very useful player to have on the bench. Conor Murray, all his experience. Joey Carberry to come off the bench as well. And then Bundy Aki was one of the few players that looked in really good form, I thought, on Wednesday morning. So I'd feel a touch more buoyant, would be a strong word, but less full of trepidation than I think in the immediate aftermath of Wednesday when things were so poor. But 24 hours go by and it was a scratch side and showed all the frailties that you would expect with a scratch side. But as you said, this side very experienced, and so, let's get a bit of feel good factor going, because a tour in the depths of winter in New Zealand can unravel if you get off to a terrible start.
Yeah, sure can. We're going to have more reaction to that. Rory O'Connor coming up at 7:30. The All Blacks have named their 15 as well, Richie.
Yeah, and a first cap on the wing for Crusaders winger Leicester Fainga Anuku, and their lack of options on the blind side seemingly have led to a start there for lock Scott Barrett. Ireland Open side Josh van der Flaer was asked about the New Zealand team selection and particularly the deployment of Barrett.
He's a great player. I wasn't really sure what back row they'd come up with. I was pretty certain Sam Cane had started anyway, and Artie Survey would be somewhere in the back row for sure. But he's a brilliant player. Great line-out option, and I saw they've gone with two back rows then on the bench. So leaves their option quite open. It's good. They have good strong line-out with him in there, and I think whoever of all they were going through the different players and options they could have had during the week for back row, and I think across all of them they're all world-class players, and I think all of them are good at ball carrying, all of them can offload, all of them can hit hard. So I think they've certainly good options. Whoever you come across, we knew it would be tough, but Scott Barrett is a very, very good player. So it'll certainly be a good test.
It is the news round on Off the Ball, brought to you with Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. We've had a couple of brilliant nights at Wimbledon over the last couple of evenings, Richie. Harmony Tam beating Serena Williams, and then last night John Isner beating Andy Murray. What's been going on today?
Iga Swiatek is now on the longest winning streak in women's tennis since 1990. The Wimbledon #1 seed's 37th victory in a row was tougher than expected. She needed 3 sets to beat the world number 138, Leslie Padanama-Kirkova, and she'll play Alizé Cornet in round 3. World number 115, Katie Boulter, caused one of the shocks of the tournament so far, beating last year's finalist Karolina Pliskova in 3. Boulter will play Harmony Tan in round 3 after Serena Williams conqueror beats Sara Sorribes Tormo today. Also through the round 3 are the 4th seed Paula Badoza, 8th seed Jessica Badula, and former champions Simona Halep and Petra Kvitova. Rafa Nadal was seemingly cruising towards the third round. He was 2 sets to love up on Ricardas Berankis. He then lost the third set 6-4, and Nadal had raced into a 3-love lead in the 4th set before the rains came to SW19. The covers were thrown on to centre court. They didn't want to close the roof. The covers remain on, and they think they're just about to resume there, because over on #1 court, Alex de Minaur and Jack Draper are just back underway. Men's 4th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas eased into round 3 with a straight sets win over Jordan Thompson, and he'll play another Aussie, Nick Kyrgios, next. Kyrgios was on his best behaviour today as he beat Filip Krajinovic in straight sets, and Tsitsipas can't wait to lock horns with him.
I am definitely thrilled to be facing him. He's I respect him a lot on the court, what he's trying to do. Although he has been a little bit controversial in the past, but I think he's playing good tennis. I'm going to try and concentrate on doing my thing and pay attention to my own game from start to finish. Hopefully I can stay there and do something great, have a great competitive match against him.
The 12th seed Diego Schwartzman was beaten in 5 today by Liam Brody finally, and Roberto Bautista Agut became the 3rd men's seed, forced to withdraw due to a COVID-19 positive.
So Tottenham, it looks as though done deal for Richarlison, doing some really good business this summer.
Yeah, they've agreed a €60 million deal with Everton for Richarlison. The Brazilian striker has already agreed personal terms with the North London club, and he'll complete the move after undergoing a medical in Brazil. Chelsea reportedly tried to hijack the deal at the 11th hour, but Richarlison, it looks like, will be a Spurs player, as will Clement Longley, who's going to arrive from Barcelona as part of a loan deal.
They've already brought in Yves Bissouma and Ivan Perisic. Fraser Foster is going to come in as backup goalkeeper. Richie mentioned there Clement Longley on the way, coupled with a couple of really astute signings they made in January as well. Challenging for title probably feels past anybody aside from Liverpool or Manchester City right now, but definitely Conte putting Spurs in a position to be the best of the rest.
Oh yeah, I mean, him and Daniel Levy, whatever agreements and conversations they had, I would suspect Conte feels that Levy is now holding his end of the bargain up very much so. Richarlison's a very interesting fella, really good player. He gave an interview last season, and really he came from the most acute poverty you could believe. I mean, the things he saw as a child, absolutely horrific. fair enough, an Irish player going over and having their world transformed by the money that Premier League has to offer. But for somebody to come from where Richarlison comes from and what it does for his family, the most extraordinary thing. And he's a damn good player as well.
He is 10 goals last season in an Everton side that really struggled, and I definitely felt in previous seasons he was up there in contention to be the best player outside the top four. Has a real work rate about him as well. I think often you can fall into that trap of stereotyping attacking Brazilian players. But I remember Seamus Coleman talking about him of when he was with him over on the right hand side for Everton, that he was never afraid to track back. We've seen it lots of times, he's got a nice little nasty edge to him as well. And suddenly you're looking at that Tottenham front three, if it is Richarlison, Son and Kane, or maybe actually they can now have a bit of rotation with Kulusevski in there as well. If Conte can just keep it all together, like it always feels with Conte, unfortunately, they're 2 defeats in a row away from him having a complete meltdown, throwing the toys out of the pram. But the squad they're building, Richie, is as good a Tottenham squad as they've probably, maybe even stronger than they had when Pochettino was there.
Yeah, we forget that, Christian Romero's in there at the back. He's a fantastic centre half. Obviously, Hugo Lloris is a brilliant goalkeeper. Their defence looks solid. Their midfield looks more solid than ever. I'm wondering, are they going to play front three there with Richarlison, Heung-min Son and Harry Kane? Is there a case that there's a bit of an overlap between the two, or that they finally have that player that can lift the load off Harry Kane's shoulders when he can't play 60 games in a season? You have someone who can put in there. Is that the best use of a Richarlison? That's the kind of question mark that I'm toying with at the moment. But that is a very solid Spurs squad. I think, to be honest with you, that news of an 11th hour bid from Chelsea, I don't think they need, clearly the plans at Chelsea weren't for a Richarlison type player this summer. So it would suggest that they wanted to bump the price up for Spurs a little bit at the last minute to make them fork over an extra 5-10 million quid. So you would imagine that Chelsea are seeing Spurs as a very definite rival for their position as a top 3 Premier League side. If you consider or presume that Manchester City and Liverpool are going to remain the top 2, Chelsea are very firmly the third and ahead of the others. But Spurs, with that squad, with that manager, on paper, and without toys being flung from prams, do look like that next best of the rest, the one that can probably bridge that gap next season. But they need a good start, and they need all those guns firing up front. I still wonder if they have that link from midfield to attack, but I'm sure the goals will make up for it from Harry Kane.
Yeah, it is one of those summers where the best are hoovering up the best of the lesser teams in the Premier League. Like we look at Rafinha, who's been outstanding for Leeds, and maybe that's the Chelsea issue there, is that Barcelona, it looks like, are trying to come in late for Rafinha if he doesnn't end up going.
They don't have the money for him and he doesn't want to go. That's
to Chelsea, but the strongest teams are just getting stronger and taking away from the others. So it does look as though Spurs are in a really strong position. Tour de France controversy clacks on, Richie.
Yeah, not even a wheel turned in anger yet. This year's Tour de France already marred in controversy. Less than 24 hours to go until the Grand Depart. The Bahrain victorious team had their hotel and team buses raided by Danish police at the request of French prosecutors this morning. It comes 3 days after several team members and riders had their homes raided by Europol. This year's tour begins in Copenhagen tomorrow. There was a press conference involving Bahrain victorious today, lasted all of 8 minutes, and as you might be surprised to hear, they weren't keen on answering any questions regarding those raids.
Memories of Festina in 1998. This team won 3 stages on last year's tour, and they were raided last year as well. So this is a continuation of a raid from last year. Last year it was a 2 a.m. job, and 50 police officers on some Thursday morning, I was reminding myself of it, arrived in to raid their premises, and the team's manager at the time called it nothing special. So it's quite extraordinary that 12 months on, the French prosecutors still twice now in the last week have deemed it necessary to raid this hotel. Like there has been the occasional raid, but like this is definitely the most concerted and in terms of numbers and regularity. This is the biggest since Festina that I can think of. Obviously the Lance Armstrong investigation took on a whole other quality outside of police raids and beyond police raids. But I mean, it is absolutely remarkable. And I don't know, I mean, you go to a press conference and say nothing for 8 minutes. I don't know about you guys, that didn't make me think, oh yeah, okay, everything's probably cozy here, everything's okay here.
Yeah, they made the Live Golf press conferences look like good PR.
Yeah. But like, you're wrongly accused, you're then put in front of the media. What would you do?
I wouldn't go in front of the media to start with.
I
Just
know,
keep
but
the
if you
head
have
down.
to.
Well,
Yeah,
you're obviously just going to...
just giving the head down. Yeah, classic GEAism.
Exactly.
You know,
no
you
press
just-
conferences, Joe.
But I think if you were then asked, please
Trial by
ladies,
social
your
media.
heads. Yeah. But saying nothing, I mean, Jesus. Like,
Yeah, it's embarrassing. There's definitely we should do a nice nostalgia piece on Festina. Is it a nice nostalgia piece? Maybe it's not, but there's definitely something there. Like, now is the time to do it.
Yeah, there's a
like, it
piece
is
in
one of the most interesting stories in the history of Irish sports. So maybe it's something for the next few weeks. Yeah, the 24-year anniversary, as Mick said. It's a big one. Maybe next year then. Some interesting news on the broadcast rights front in the UK, Richie.
Surely is, yeah. Amazon are set to sign a deal to broadcast Champions League games in the UK. BT Sport previously held those rights exclusively, but the two platforms are going to share Europe's top competition from the 2024-25 season. That's when it goes all Swiss group format. Amazon have a minor stake in Premier League broadcast rights as well, of course, but that deal has not previously extended into Ireland. You might remember Premier Sports often pick up those games that are on Amazon. There's no word yet on how that Amazon deal will affect the Irish market.
Yeah, the Irish rights obviously up for renegotiation. Usually I think they get the UK done first and the Irish follow maybe 6 months later. So Amazon again investing. I don't think it'll make much of a difference in Ireland, but obviously with the Champions League in Ireland we had the live sport rights deal, live score, where you can get all the matches online. I don't know how many people utilise that, because you can still watch the matches on Virgin, on RTE and on BT Sport.
Yeah, I think live score are fourth in that, because like you can't Chromecast the live score either, you know, and so you're not going to watch it on your phone when it's on terrestrial television. So with these Amazon rights, because certain Amazon rights we still can't get them because it's available in this territory elsewhere. I wonder, will we be able to watch Premier League on Amazon, for anyone that does have an Amazon account, obviously, but will we have access to them, I wonder?
I would suspect not, unless Amazon also end up buying the Irish rights. The other interesting part of the deal, Richie, I don't think you mentioned it, is that the BBC have got the rights for the highlights of the Champions League for the first time ever.
Yeah, they haven't shown a Champions League match since the 94 final. It was AC Milan-Barcelona in Athens was the last Champions League match that BBC broadcast. I can't remember why they had that match in particular, because that was an ITV season. But yeah, that'll be quite something as well. It'd be like, they haven't had highlights really properly in a visible form on terrestrial TV in the UK for a while, and having them on the Beeb, I'm sure the Beeb would make a big deal out of having them too. So yeah, that's quite something to get it back on the BBC.
Well, it's disappeared for a younger generation if they don't have BT. I mean, to think English audiences raised on ITV coverage and beyond, and it's just disappeared. So
well, that's where Amazon would be huge. Like
the
amount of Amazon that would be built into smart TVs already, like preloaded, and people would have subscriptions.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers. I would speculate that there probably are now more Amazon subscriptions than BT in the UK, because it's a broader service, obviously. So there is a chance for that younger generation to get back on board with the Champions League, and I think that was probably within the thinking of UEFA when they were doling out these media rights.
Yeah, Match of the Day still gets 2-3 million on a good day.
Yeah, more than you get for your big Premier League matches, the live coverage of it. We got to leave it there, lads. Richie, thank you as always.
Nice, lads.
Got a tough week coming up next week, Joe, but we'll just try and muddle through between Adair Manor and Killeen Castle.
Listen, all in the interest of the job. We're just doing our bit for off the ball.
You better do that last hour on Tuesday. That last hour on Tuesday, baby.
All right, we got Rory O'Connor on the rugby coming up next, but time for the cash machine.